Not quite sure of the YouTube etiquette when it comes to, this intro. Like, do you have to say, "Hi everybody on YouTube, this is Wingnut"? It just seems counterproductive to me. But then again, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Today, I'm brewing beer. Well, hello YouTube. Today, I'm making beer. I actually already made a batch of wine, blackberry wine, from some berry juice I got from my grandmother. And I will be making beer in a little bit. The problem is right before I got started, I realized I was lacking in an airlock, which is very important to the fermentation process. And I'd like to get some other stuff while I'm out. So, we're off to the beer store. Brew Usa. They happen to be a fabulous place. Great place to get beer stuff. I've done pretty good business with them in the past. I've been doing business with the store pretty much since they opened. And even while I was in Connecticut, there were some items that they could get that other folks couldn't, and I would buy from them and have it shipped to me. So that was kind of nice. But, talk about brewing beer and making wine, or making mead. I have a nice mead that's fermenting right now for an event where my wife's having some friends over, and we want to do something special for it. It's an absolutely fabulous hobby. Cannot stress it enough that, easy to do. It's no harder than cooking chili. All you gotta know how to do is boil water, add ingredients in at certain times, keep everything clean and sanitized, and be patient and wait for it to ferment. Definitely something that I enjoy doing. If you're interested in it, there's plenty of websites, and I'll add them to the description below. There's also tons of really good books that are available on Amazon or available at your local homebrew store. I would always suggest buying locally if you can, if it's available. If not, of course, do whatever you think is best, but shop local. Small businesses are a beautiful thing. But with that, there's another book that I would highly recommend called The Alaskan Bootlegger's Bible. Now, it's basically just telling you how to make wine, beer, and distilled spirits, how to blend them, how to do it with minimal equipment, safely, and in a way that is enjoyable and on the cheap, because you can really get into a bunch of stuff, a lot of money wrapped up in brewing beer and making wine or distilling spirits. But you also need to check with your local laws to make sure what you want to do is legal. I'm not going to go into all that, the legalities of whatever, but whatever you get ready to brew beer or to make wine or distill spirits, make sure you check with the laws in your city, county, state, and the U.S. That way you don't end up inadvertently breaking the law. I never advocate breaking the law. I just simply want to put that out there. It's on you using this as you want, that you're getting from me. So I started homebrewing beer and meads in 2006. It was the summer before I got married. Been doing it for quite a while now with a couple of buddies of mine. We just kind of kicked it off. Started off with one batch of beer. We all chipped in together, bought the ingredients, bought the kits, from the homebrew store when it opened up, and just kind of took it from there. And made beer, right? So our first batch of beer was a cream ale. Because it required a month of lagering, which means just when you ferment it at a lower temperature, we were sitting there for like the first week going, the fuck, man? After the first week, we transferred it from primary to secondary. We had a month to kill, so we wanted something a little quicker. So we turned around, went back to the beer store the day we racked it over, and then got a ale kit from the beer store, and that's what we did for like our first couple of batches. We were making pre-made kits that the beer store recommended. You know, they would put the malts and the grains and the hops and everything together, and it made it an absolutely fabulous time. In fact, if you look on my channel, there's a called Beer video, and it's using the music from Pyschostick, which I highly recommend the band, by the way. And that's actually the first. Those are pictures of when we first really started brewing beer. Like my friends and I, Cupcake and Rock. There's something else. Good folks, man. And I cannot stress this enough, that it is an absolutely fun time. But you know, if you've been watching the channel, if you've seen the other videos, you're going to hear me say that a lot. I don't promote things that I don't find are fun. Sorry. I'm not going to go, hey, go skydiving. Fuck that noise. My fat ass ain't going in a harness. And I am not going out of a plane unless it's an absolute necessity for survival. Now, don't get me wrong, for those of you that do it, good on you. Have fun. Be safe. Hope you don't bounce. You know? But I digress. Because with beer brewing, you know, you can make all kinds, and it's actually more economical than you would think. But unfortunately, your first couple of batches are quite expensive. Because you have to buy all the equipment and the tools, and then get going. It's about the 5th or 6th batch that the cost effectiveness really comes into play, where the cost of your equipment depreciates per batch. So let's say you buy all the beer brewing equipment, it runs you $200, and that's all the bare bones stuff you need that you're buying from a beer store. And that's not putting together stuff yourself. About $200. All right, average beer kit, depending on the type of beer, can run between $20 and $60 from your homebrew store, and it's whatever kind of beer you want to make. So about our 5th batch, our kit had pretty much paid for itself, because you're talking 6.5 gallons of beer. All right, each time. The average batch size is 5 gallons. So 5 gallons of beer, broken down into bottles. You know, that's quite a bit of liquid. All right, so, and then you'll find that you're also drinking less of it, because you want to enjoy it more. So you're not just buying a 30 rack of PBR and kicking them back, or Milwaukee's Beast, which, you know, perfectly good beers, not knocking them, but they're not a lot of flavor there. Alright. And then you can play with it a bit. Like, I've got a couple of beer recipes that I really, really, really love, that I like making. One's not very expensive, one is exceedingly expensive to make. And if you get an all grain brewing, it's actually a lot cheaper than doing the extract brewing, but also is more time consuming. So today I'm starting kind of late in the day, so I really don't have time to do all grain. I'll be doing a mini mash, which is basically a mixture of malting, using malts or liquid malt, and some grains to do the accent. So the bulk malt that I would need. And I'm looking at a 60-minute boil time. So it's going to take about, from start to finish, about 3 hours to do this beer, because you have to do cooling and everything else. I have a wort chiller, so it's going to make the process a little quicker. And if I'm using terms you don't understand, please check the links below, and it gives you a long description of all the information you'd ever want about beer brewing. I may even do a video about beer brewing in the future, when I have a little bit more time. We've got a underway coming up, and I'm pushing really, really hard to get a lot of stuff done with the yard and get ready for my wife's event she's got coming up. And I found a day where I just want to take care of making some wine, making some beer, you know, do some research on some upgrades for the for the Rocket 3, so Dacey here can run hot, a little hotter than what she is now. Larger, a little bit louder pipes, better breathing, better intakes. Looking at a set of risers from Rimco and some foot pegs to make it a little more comfortable for long distance riding. Definitely want to upgrade the tune on the computer to clean up the response at cruising speeds. I don't know what you're doing. If you're coming over, come over. I don't feel like going with a power commander with auto tune. I want to specifically tune my motorcycle to the setup I have. It's a little bit more pricey and more time consuming, but for me, that's my choice. Those that are running the power commanders or the pre-made systems with auto tune, nothing wrong with them, just not what I want to do. Also looked into a few other upgrades for the motorcycle, like running a wired connection system into my hard bags, so I can charge stuff in the hard bags versus having to run wires from the handlebars, which isn't necessarily the best option when it comes to riding a motorcycle, because you don't want wires and stuff everywhere getting in the way. Because I fully intend to go this fall to ride home to Tennessee from Norfolk. So we're going from Norfolk to slightly south of Nashville, about an hour south of Nashville, back to see my dad and my sister, and get some long distance rides in. And here we are at Homebrew USA, absolutely fabulous place to get your homebrewing supplies. They are not paying me for that statement. I am going in there to pay them for the pleasure of doing business. Now, they're a great bunch. Love them to death. Wouldn't come here if they weren't good business. Alright, so I got my stuff from the beer store. I ended up getting a little extra grain because I want to do something a little different. I've got some yeast nutrients, some airlocks. I'm gonna get on back to the house. And I'm gonna make me some beer. Sounds like what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna make me some good old taste of beer. The fellas at Homebrew USA was kind enough to sell me the stuff I needed, and I'm doing good. Apparently they got some new toys in the beer brewing world for the home beer brewer that look quite interesting, though I don't think I need some of it. Some of it would just make life a little bit, just a tiny bit easier when it comes to brewing booze. I wonder how my buddies from way back when the brew beer me are doing. I haven't heard from Cupcake and Rock in a while. I occasionally see Cupcake pop up on the Facebook, but I haven't heard from Rock since he got out of the Navy. And I'm curious how my old buddy's doing up there. Last I heard, he was headed back to West Virginia. If you like what I got to say, you've been listening, subscribe, give me a like, give me a dislike. I don't care. It's on you. Have a great one.